The UX 360 Research Summit Europe 2026 is back for its sixth edition in Berlin on the 23rd and 24th of June. UX 360 Europe is one of the Europe's leading events dedicated to advancing UX research as a strategic and business driving function. The summit brings together global speakers, practical case study, and actionable frameworks focused on the full research journey, from planning and execution to stakeholder alignment and business impact. Attendees can expect sessions on cutting-edge strategy, real-world return on investment, and the evolving role of research in today's organization. I will be there as well. And if you work in UX research, design, or product, this is truly one of the unmissable UXR events in Europe. And as a listener of the UX Research Club podcast, you get 15% off on your ticket with the code UXRC15. UXRC15. All the information will be in the note of this podcast. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the UX Research Club, the podcast dedicated to the field of UX research. This podcast is for everyone interested in user research and how to integrate it into the product development and business strategy. This is Dr. Emmanuel Savary, your host. Today's episode is highly contextual. I know that many of you listening have been affected by layoff. Almost every week, I hear from friends, people in the community who are going through a very difficult time, dealing with rejection, a loss of professional identity, and of course, the financial stress that comes with it. So today's episode is really for everyone who is currently navigating the job market or thinking about applying for a new role. I'm delighted to welcome Mathieu Ritter. Mathieu is the founder of Undiscovered, a recruitment agency specializing in UX design and research recruitment, as well as product and software engineering. He has been working in UX recruitment for more than 10 years and has a very strong perspective on how market has evolved. He is also currently working on a design and research job board, which makes him particularly well positioned to talk about what is happening in the hiring market right now. In this episode, we will talk about how the UX job market has evolved, what companies are looking for today, how candidates can better prepare their application and interviews, and how AI may be changing the hiring landscape. So if you are currently looking for a role or simply want to understand how the market is evolving, I hope this conversation will give you some useful insight and practical advice. So, hello Mathieu, how are you today?
Very good, Emmanuel. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. So I'm so excited to have you today because a lot of people are talking about recruitment, engaging with recruiters, applying for new jobs. So I think the topic of this episode is highly relevant to the market we're experiencing today. And we met in Berlin probably 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Almost 3 years ago now.
Almost 3, yeah.
Almost 3 years ago at the UX 360 conference.
Yeah.
And we were talking about doing this episode, but finally we found the time. Thank you so much for being here today.
Yeah.
So before we start, because we've got so many questions I would like to ask you. So how long have you been working in UX recruitment?
I would say around 13 years now and around 11 with my own business. Yeah. More than 10, 13 years. Yeah.
Wow, that's and probably you've seen a lot of changing over time. So, but what drew you to this field of UX recruitment? Were you always in UX, or did you work in other field before?
At the beginning, I worked also with creative agencies. So I also placed copywriters, account manager. It was like this digital time, where like also design and creative marketing agency were hiring digital talents. And then at some point, the focus went more heavy on the design and research part. I mean, I also recruit now product and software engineers. I shifted a bit more towards the product world, whether corporate, startup, or design studio. But yeah, there's a strong focus in design and research. But I hired all kinds: sales, marketing, copywriting, strategist, very broad. Let's put it this way.
Oh, that's great. So you're based in Berlin. So
Yes.
how long have you been in Berlin?
Almost the same time I'm doing this recruitment business. I moved here around, 12, 13 years ago. I was in London before, and I helped a recruitment agency there to set up the operation in Berlin. And then eventually I moved to Berlin, and very fast I made my own way and created my own boutique recruitment agency.
I think it's nice to have someone from Germany because I've got a great audience on the UX Research Club from Germany. So instead of having people from the UK or from the US, so I'm very pleased to have someone which is based in Germany. So you mentioned that you're recruiting like the UX designer, the product designer, UX researchers.
Yeah.
Do you also recruit like research ops, product ops, all those
Mm.
type of role, or you are recruiting more the technician?
Yeah, more like I don't know how to say, traditional UX researchers. I rarely have UX research ops or design ops role. They come a bit less. It's mostly like product design, brand design, UX research, service designer sometimes also as well, or strategic business designer, where there's always bridge with UX research, service design. They work very often together. So yeah, that's a bit the type of roles I'm going on, from like senior up to, managerial leadership roles as well, director, etc., C-suite. That's
So you're based in Berlin. So you work, your primary market, I assume, is Germany. But are you working in other markets?
Yeah, sometimes. I mean, generally Germany first, Berlin first, all Germany. Then Europe. I placed people in Amsterdam, in Paris. If companies are remote in Europe and hire remotely, I have a base of talent who's really global. So the European market, of course, a lot. I occasionally work in the US. I just placed someone a few months back in the US as well, but very secondary, the US market. It's mostly Germany and Europe, I would say.
Okay. And so how is the job market at the moment?
It has been wild the last few years, but I think it got better. After COVID, there was all these like layoffs, etc. And then it was like 2 years ago, it was quite difficult. But I saw that last year in 25, I started to see a bit some better things towards the end of the year. And this year, to me, started very, very well. I saw a lot of roles open. I see more leadership roles again, even just on LinkedIn. I hear people telling, it's getting better. But if you face the reality, there's still way more job seekers than jobs, which make the market very competitive, right? Everyone knows, you see, when you apply on a job on LinkedIn, you see 100 people apply and the job is online for one day and like, oh my God, what is this? So there's that happening, but people have a lot of panic with that, and they should not, because people who click on those kind of jobs and they don't necessarily fill up the full form, it already counts as an application. So one just in between the live advice is like, people should not worry too much and still apply. But it's been a bit wild out there. It's competitive. Company want more from people. It's more challenging to land a job. There's a lot of interview rounds depending the company. So I would say it's more a marathon than a 100-meter run to land a job in research or in design currently.
I've seen quite I've been building teams for many years, and like post-COVID, it was, or during COVID and just post-COVID, it was very difficult to find, for example, senior researchers or good senior researchers. That was a big issue. And more recently, I find that when you put an ad, you've got like 350 applications for one role. Maybe I would say 2/3, they're not even qualified for the role.
More than 2/3. I would say even
so
more.
I'm generous, but Find that some people, they don't realize that they need to really tick the boxes. They can't just apply just because they think they can do the job.
Yeah.
They need to know what it is. So it's a bit complicated, and it's better to apply to less roles, but to really take the
Yeah,
time to actually do
totally.
the
A targeted job search is way more efficient. You always have to jungle between quality application that's like
application.
really niche match to your skills and background. You also sometimes have to jungle a bit with volume application, but smartly. When I see people who do, I don't know, SEO, and they just apply to a researcher role on a language skill set, I ask German, they don't speak it. They lose time also to the good applicants. And this is why I post less and less my jobs on LinkedIn. I keep it 1-1 for people who know me, my job board, etc. Because I realize I'm losing too much time filtering non-relevant people. And I prefer to do my direct targeted search. I know I want it from this company. And this is why Headhunter also exists for busy hiring manager, because it's a mess to sort non-relevant applicants, and eventually you want to have quality over quantity. This is why Headhunter exists. One of the reasons why we exist as well is to deliver fast, high quality profile, and that you don't have to filter 400 irrelevant ones and lose the 4 good ones because your process was too slow. The time you get back to them, they already found a company that was more agile because you are still filtering your 300,
So in terms of in Berlin, I think it's becoming really like the big UX hub in Germany.
Mhm.
So how is it changing? Because it really post Brexit,
Mhm.
it started really, from my opinion, maybe
Yeah.
I'm wrong. And then, after COVID, you had another push as well. So maybe marketing in Germany, and why it would be great for people to, consider to come and work in Germany.
I mean, Berlin is very attractive in terms of a city as well, because it's very artistic. There's music, clubs, you have parks, you can swim in the summer. It's not like London or Paris, it's another vibe. And especially Gen Z or younger generation, they love this style of life in Berlin. But if you're also honest, like flat got expensive. It's not so easy to find a place to live here. And Berlin had so much hype that also too many people want to work in Berlin, but there's not necessarily enough job for everyone. And especially the more junior level, they struggle in this market. People coming from boot camps, they think they did a boot camp and they're going to find a job. We all know company hire mostly senior or lead, which I believe is a problem, because if you don't do your education role as a company to have like people leader in research and design who educate juniors to grow them to senior, in 7 years, we won't have good seniors anymore because those people are going to be manager or left. And then nobody took on those juniors. So that's a market reality. Berlin had suffered with the automotive industry is big in Germany. Obviously, it's not like they are hiring researchers and designers right now. It's an industry that got difficult. But when company from the US, all those cool AI company, early stage founders, if they come to Europe, generally Berlin is one of the first city. I think London has again some traction on the job market slowly. London is always very busy, very competitive, but it's always a bit between Berlin and London when a US big tech firm or smaller one say, hey, we want to expand in Europe. But it's not only all about Berlin. People tend to forget Munich. Munich has almost this same amount of startup created, but the startup in Munich, they survive more than the Berlin ones. After 1-2 years, the startup in Munich, they have been creating the last years. OpenAI has an office there. You have Google. The bigger corporation in Germany, if we speak the big brands like Siemens, Bosch, all those companies are in Bayern or in Schwaben, so Stuttgart, Munich. Those are the area where the big corporation is. Sometimes they have like an innovation lab or like a little tech hub in Berlin because they know the talents prefer to live in Berlin. Although there are some people who like Munich because it's very central in Europe. So if you have family in South Europe or in Eastern Europe, it's a good way to travel. But Berlin remains a very attractive city. There are companies investing there. There's still a lot happening at the moment here. But yeah, we feel that we are in an industry that it's a bit shaky. It's a bit hard. I wouldn't like to start as a junior, no. designer, researcher, product manager, whatever, it'd be very tough to get your first job in the industry nowadays.
So I always recruit junior. For me, it's very important. In every time I was building a team and
Yeah.
I was leading a UX research team, very quickly I start having some juniors. So the senior can mentor the juniors. It
Yeah.
prepares. I think what is very important is people say, oh, we don't want junior because it takes time to manage junior. But actually, for senior to start mentoring and supporting a junior, it prepares them for management.
Yeah.
Because you can't just become a manager overnight just because you need a promotion and you want to be a manager.
Mm.
So start having to pair a junior with a senior researcher. You can really grow both of them, and it's a win-win for the organization, and it's a win-win for the junior, and it's a win-win for the senior.
Yeah.
For recruiting junior, as soon as every other role should be a junior, because
Yeah.
otherwise you are going to be too top heavy, and who is going to do all the other job then you need to do, then the senior don't want to do anymore because they want to move to strategic stuff, they want to do things that
Yeah.
got great impact. You still need to do the basic part of the work, which are the foundation of UX research. So
This
you need
high
product.
delivery mentality that I saw from like company after COVID, they are like senior engineer, senior researcher, senior designer, senior PM. Let's just do it. And because they want to ship fast the products, they want to, they don't take this time investment for the future. They just want
They have
fast
to.
delivery outcome, and then you only take senior. And for research, even harder because now it's you've seen it. I've seen it after the tech crisis, the layoffs. Researcher got kicked out, laid off before product designer, right? And then you ask the product designer to do the research because many product designers also cover research. I've also seen now more and more clients when I work on a product manager role, they ask me how strong are they in discovery? Do they conduct user research and interview and testing? So is this like, it's not only the researcher doing the research, there's the
But
product designer is expected to do user research, the PM sometimes, which
yeah,
means the discipline sometimes company don't invest in a dedicated UX research team, except the bigger corporation. I always see this rule. The bigger the organization is, the more chance you have that there is a dedicated research team. But very often it's allocated to the product designer, or in very small orgs, even the PM.
yeah, I agree with you. And I think it's a question of maturity of the organization where they are at and see the benefit. If it's just to do usability testing, of course, a designer can do it.
Yeah.
Okay. Actually, when you work in big organization, actually the researcher, they focus on strategic and impactful project with return on investment.
Yeah.
They're not going to, we can't do it all. So we have to ask a designer to actually do the unmoderating testing or even moderating testing. So okay, it's just to limit the risk on something which is already built or on the way to be built. But if you want to work on very strategic piece of work, if you want to triangulate data about, the commercial data, the data analytics, the UX research, the marketing, designer can do that. The skill set, you need to be a researcher to do that. So I think it's really a question of maturity, and it's a shame. And over the years, I've seen that. I've been in the
Yeah.
industry for more than 20 years. The always the one who are let go are the researchers, and I think
Yeah.
it's a big mistake that actually companies are doing, because research can help with prioritization. What is the best investment they need to do? They can prioritize what is important for the organization and which impact actually they can bring.
Yeah.
They take a shortcut, say, okay, it costs too much money, the designer can do it. But they just see the tip of the iceberg of what the researchers are doing, and we are far more than usability, which you can hear in one of my podcasts and on my books as well, that
Yeah.
research are more than that. But let's see with AI, okay? Because now they're going to use AI to do the research, but that's another story. I think I will do a whole episode on AI and research very soon. Let's move back to the market reality. So you said it's picking up a little bit, and so it's a good news. So the people who work in Germany, they need to have a European visa or European passport. So how does it work? Because if you got some listener
Yeah.
really who want to work in Europe, because I think what's applying in Germany apply to the rest of Europe.
I think it depends. So either you have company who say we hire remotely, they work with like those employer of record companies. So then they can generate an entity in any EU country and hire people in the country you are based, even if the company doesn't have a physical office there, right? So that's one way to hire. The company you are still remote. Makes it more easy because maybe you have a visa for this country, but not for another one in Europe. So makes hiring global. But I've seen more and more that people try to hire again locally. There's company where remote, they go back to hybrid, very big tech organization in Berlin. They ask 2-3 days a week again in the office. So generally they like people to be around. They're still full remote company. They exist. I've seen more company not doing visas anymore for non-EU citizens because it takes time in Germany and there's good talents in Europe. Let's put it this way: Portugal, Eastern Europe, Poland, Estonia is raising very good talents lately. Serbia, there's top quality design, research and tech people in Europe. Barcelona, Lisbon, you have tech hubs a bit everywhere. And they don't see necessarily the value, especially for just a mid or senior role. You are not going to do months of visa with someone from the US. All what I just said completely cancels when we talk about C-level roles. If you hire a director, a VP, a chief design officer, all what I just said cancels again, because for those top roles, you want the best person. And for these roles, they definitely do visa and want the best person wherever the person comes from. Back in the days when I was recruiting 10 years ago, it was deficient in terms of quality of design and research. Also, I relocated tons of Brazilians to Berlin, for example, and every company was like doing visas for like a mid to senior role. Nowadays, it's more difficult.
I think the profession evolve and people have got more skill set, and I think there's the maturity of the talent increased in Europe for sure.
Yeah.
So, as a recruiter, what do you look for in an application? Let's be pragmatic now for the audience. So, what do you look for in their application?
I think clarity, because one of the things is people struggle a lot to present themselves. I'm speaking about the documents, what do they put in their resume? I think it needs to be clear the way you pitch yourself. When I ask you in 1 minute to introduce yourself, I already see how people get lost, right? And that's all self-experimenting. Train your elevator pitch, have a very clean resume. I look in portfolio first. The resume is very accessory to me. Speaking about design and research roles, right?
You look at portfolio for research. I never ever done a portfolio in my entire career.
I know I've heard that a lot from researchers, but many of my clients expect a strong portfolio from researchers.
But we don't design. So what
I
do you
know
want
that's always what
us
you
to
guys
put in a
answer.
portfolio?
I know, but you have to show outcome. If your role is from research, one of the tasks is to identify pain points, insight, what's the key insights you learn from
You
research.
don't share. You are not allowed to share anything because it's data protected.
Yeah.
This is the conversation. And I'm glad we're having this conversation because for the last 20 years, I said, I don't have a portfolio. And what do you want me to put in my portfolio? Because all my data are confidential. So, it's protected. I can't share. I've got two things. I've got non-disclosure agreement for my company I've been working about, the outcome. And I need to protect the data of my participants. So what do?
You can anonymize the data of your participants, and Emmanuel, everyone has NDA. I mean, I cannot say stuff out loud on a podcast, but let's be honest. If you listen to your company, I would not see portfolio. I would see work from 2019 with like very rotten UI design from a really old bad taste. Not bad taste, but it's just not the current trends. And this applies to everything. PM with NDA, there's researcher, there's designers. You have password nowadays. There's way to still share stuff. Of course, you cannot have everything open. In internet, we type your name and we just land on your super secret full data project. But there's way to share your work and protect yourself. Company have been abusing a bit, in my opinion, on the whole.
Actually, I don't look when I recruit researcher. I just look at their CV. When they present their CV, you've got two types of CV. You've got the plain white one, with just the content, and a normal one, and you've got the one a bit more design. I will look first to the very straight one. so we
Yeah.
can really see their skill set. But
Mhm.
I'm sure for design, the more funky one is probably better. I don't know.
No, not even. Sometimes even designer, they try to have this like super cool creative resume, and then it ends up they have like Figma banner blocks, and then the ATS recruitment system struggles with color and boxes. So you can use a nice font and make it sleek and minimal design in your resume, but the content matters and the way it's patched there. So many people want to have like designer resume, and then you realize a very simple way to test it is you just select your text in your resume, you copy paste it in just a very stupid text Google page. If the data doesn't paste well and the typo changes,
I mean,
means
it's
that
not going to be
there's
going through
gonna be
the
probably
system.
a problem in your meta text, and this needs to be tested. So don't go crazy with fancy Figma tools to design a resume. Go with like simple tools and test it to make sure it's visible, because if it looks good but the data is not scannable by an ATS, you have a problem. It just looks good then, but it doesn't give you a short list.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. It's funny you say that you don't really look at the CV. You look
I mean,
more about the, yeah.
I do.
But
But
the portfolio is more important.
for designer, yes. For researcher, I look at both, because not everyone has like big portfolio or whatever. But you know, in the era of presenting your work, I think even researcher, it's important. You can share the key insights that you got from research. And even if you don't design the final product, you can still show on what you worked out. You improve the checkout process, you change navigation, together with the product
Yeah.
designer, for example, and sharing an outcome that's the design of someone, but you created the insight that made that together the team made a change on the product. That's still something you can pack as a case. And the way to make a nice case study, a small one or
Mm.
big one, whatever, it's still part to me from a researcher, a service designer. They need to know how to present a clean presentation. I know PMs who have portfolio that look pretty good, and I got one last week. I was like, I also share you my portfolio. Mathieu was like, you're a PM, great. And he had some prototypes of the final product. He's not a designer.
The thing is, so when I go through recruitment, when we recruit people, okay, we've got the CV coming, we shortlist the
Yeah,
CV, and then there is a recruiter or talent acquisition interview, and then the manager is recruiting
yeah,
is doing the interview, and then we do a task,
yeah,
and we do also a portfolio. They need to present their portfolio, you know,
yeah, sure. That's
and
very
then there is a
classic.
cultural interview. All those steps are important. So actually, I'm more interested
Hmm.
into the task
Yeah,
I'm
uh,
giving the researcher
yeah,
than actually their portfolio, because people can embellish the situation.
that's
And I
true.
want it, especially for research, I want to see, okay, what did
Yeah,
you do? How you did it? We give them a scenario and they, like a problem to
mm,
solve, and what will be their plan, how they go. So we expect them to know how to recruit participants, to do their plan, to align with the stakeholders,
yeah.
all those things. We're expecting it. And that is coming from the task much more than from a portfolio, because I think the portfolio is still like,
Yes and no. I mean, I've seen that evolving in the hiring process over the 10 years. Back in the days, they were like, this person work at this top company, just the cool names on your resume, even if your portfolio as a designer or researcher was not fully updated, would get you an invite to a chat. Nowadays, if your done portfolio is not wowing the person, very difficult that you get the first interviews. It's only if you have a solid portfolio together that then you get the chance to present one of your projects, that then later you get to do a task. Back in the days, it was a bit more reverted. We were not so
mm,
picky about the first
mm,
documents. And over during the discussion, we're like, okay, show me more about your work. You didn't have this on your website. Maybe we can speak about it in a call. Nowadays, hiring managers are very busy. They get applicants from everywhere. They're like, I don't have time to wait that eventually you show me one of your work, which is interesting. You need to convince me at the moment you send me your documents over. And that's the difference between like some years ago. And this is
mm.
why CV and portfolio became very much KPI driven. Everyone is hungry for KPI, impact metrics, conversion rates, in every job they want, what was your contribution? What was your impact through design and research on the business, on the organization, on the user, etc. So everyone wants to see impact metrics in a case study, in a resume. Sometimes you can repeat in both. And that's, I think, the change is not just to say, I can do qualitative, quantitative. No. What impact did you bring to the business, the users, and the product by your work as a research? And that changed. Before, people were not so hungry for numbers. No, everyone is.
But that's more business-like, speaking the language of the business. I always used to put it, because I always done a CV, never done a portfolio, maybe once in my life. But that's a very good point, actually. And listener is listen to Mathieu, don't listen to me, and create your portfolio for sure.
Yeah.
I'm a bit has been on that. I haven't applied for a job for quite a long time, so I'm completely, I don't know what is the process. What you need to supply to the recruiter to get a job interview. But one thing I used to do on my CV is, depending on the role, and because I've been leading and managing big teams and things like that, underneath I always put a paragraph with some numbers and KPI. But I've been doing that for years because
that's great. I have people who don't do it. I think in every, at least your 2-3 last workstation, you should always have, you explain your job and responsibility and task. But what interests people is at the end, you just put a key achievement. And this is the moment via a KPI that you illustrate the impact of your work on the team, depending if it's a manager role on the team, probably, or even on the product, the users, etc. And many people are struggling with that, but they need to have it. PM have very often OKRs that they mentioned there. They do very often more better than designers or researchers. But industry job, salesperson knows their number. They know how many revenue they generated in a year. So a designer and a researcher need also to be this business-oriented designer, because that's the market right now.
Ears, because I do, in my book, like the UX Research Powerhouse, I put something about, the importance of speaking the language of the business. In the volume 2, there is something about budgeting, and I will be talking about how to prepare budget so you can present to your C-suite your budget and your impact and things like that. Because I think and it's the same for designer. I do it for research, but I do think it's very important for people to understand how much their team is costing, how much revenues they generate if they do, how much money if they don't generate revenue, how much saving they've done for the company. All those things are very important. So I think, not only to prepare to apply for a job, but to understand now for the audience. And when you apply, you need to understand the business. You need to speak the language of the business. It's finished now. You can just do your little thing in isolation. You are part of the entire business, and you need to have a return on investment and impact on what you do.
And C-level and stakeholder, you convince them of the value of design and research as soon as you speak about numbers and how it impacts revenue. Not with a shiny UI button, an icon or like a very nice font and typo. Those people need numbers. That still you can do a nice font and nice interface, but you need to explain how this is going to translate into revenue. And that's where people sometimes are a bit naive, the way they present themselves. I also wanted to add one thing about when you say what makes, good applicants, etc. Just one little tip on the resume. I very often see that people forget to have I'm very demanding on the skills section. Very often people are very vague. They say, user research, that's it. Like just 3 words. And I'm always like, be detailed. Let's say you are a service designer or product designer, user research, user interview, user testing, personas, wireframing, user flow, sitemaps, customer journey mapping, prototyping, all really the technical, because those words are in the job description. And some system of big company that when they screen your resume, everyone believes that it's just a robot who says no and yes. It's not true. But the machine, the AI or like the ATS, the HR system of companies scanning your profile, they will look at those words. So if you are a Python developer, but you don't have the word Python a lot in your resume, you won't be at the top of the list that the human is going to analyze. So let's say 200 people applied, the system filters the 20, 50 best ones, if you don't have the keywords of your expertise in research clearly formulated in your resume, maybe your resume won't be in the 20 top ones that the human is looking with their human eyes, right? So this is very important that you have like a very clean skill section, and people are very messy. They put the tool together with the skill. A tool is not, it's also a skill, but those for me are two different sections in a resume. You have your tooling. Do you use Lovable? Do you use Notion? Do you use, I don't know, Tableau or whatever, Figma, but then your skills. And that's really your core expertise and what you bring in terms of tasks and responsibilities.
You know, it's very interesting because I remember when my kids applied for roles, you know, the product manager and one is a scientist, I said to look at the job offer, you know, the job
Yeah.
spec, and do a content analysis. Look at the keywords. Make the list of all the keywords that are in the job, and then add those keywords into your CV.
Yeah, totally. You cannot, for every single application, tailor your resume to the company and the job. But I believe for your favorite roles, where let's say you did B2B SaaS, and that's a B2B SaaS company, that's a strength. It's already a strong match on paper because you have the vertical, the industry experience. So if that's a company, then you should take a bit more time to tailor your CV. If there's a job where anyway, I already see so many, maybe I'm far away from being the right person, maybe you just, try. And I know you cannot always tailor to 100 applications, but for the one that you have a strong match, you should take the time. I've seen people, that sometimes can sound funny, but I saw people tailoring their resume where they put even the branding, color language of the company they apply for. And sometimes it can trigger a talent acquisition or hiring manager. They're like, oh, they did the effort of like, you use
I
the
do
color
that
of the
when I do
brand.
my presentation, when I apply for a job, my presentation, my deck is with the color of the branding and the font of the company.
Maybe someone finds it a bit cringe or cheesy, but maybe another person likes it, and it just still shows that you make this effort. And this is why one of the things I see the most, people failing at interview because they don't prepare their job interview. We talked about the resume now, but I made presentation because I've also give talks about how to prepare for designer and researcher job interview for mid-level up to management. There's three things that you need to check: is research the company, research the product, and research the person who's interviewing you. And you need to be very strongly prepared on that. I always advise to people, download the app of the company, play with the product, maybe identify some pain points. And in the chat, without pushing them, you can even say, I've been actually playing around with your app. If there's a little bit of time during the interview, I'd like to share a few insights I found. Maybe you are interested in seeing my analysis about that. This is being proactive. This is not just coming. So, okay, tell me about the job. I'm waiting here. I know what I want for money. Just tell me about it and your team. This is a bit like, it's too arrivist, right? It's always both parts interviewing each other. Yes, the company needs to convince you to get a job, and you need to convince that you are the right person for the job. But people tend to forget about that and come too little prepared.
Yeah, I've seen people showing up. I've done many interviews of people, you know, as a hiring manager, and people are not prepared. They don't know for what we do.
Yeah.
Well, but I think the preparation is very, very important. And I think what is important as well, if you got friends and peers in the industry, prepare, do a mock interview with them. You can actually, one a good thing with GPT or Gemini, you know, you can ask them to do a mock interview for you, and it's quite good. And you can also put on speaking to do it, so you don't have to type. So I think it's quite important to practice.
Oh, yes.
And to prepare for the interview, and to have the list of the keywords you need to reuse and all that. So it's a good preparation. It's you don't show up unprepared. It's like
and
an
your
exam.
elevator pitch. Present yourself in 1 minute, Then I have people who start to tell me, like, they tell me about their first job and they make me a chronology of all the jobs they have. No, I saw your resume and your LinkedIn profile. You don't need to make me a history recap where you worked everywhere. I want to know in 30 seconds, I don't know, I'm a senior product designer or researcher with 10 years experience, the last 5 in B2B SaaS. My strength is this and that. I love to work on that. It's very short, but it tells already what you bring. And people get lost in details. And sometimes I'm like, oh my God, this is so long. He told me no insight that I want to know now. I'm just like feeling like someone reads a resume for me. Sometimes I need to cut the people. I'm like, hey, I don't need you to do a recap of all your resume. Just tell me shortly where you're standing at now, what's your maybe focus, and what's your strengths in what you are doing in your skill set, And people are very, very bad at the elevator. Like, not everyone, but I've seen that's also something as much as part of interview training and mock-up with mentor, etc. Train your elevator pitch. Is the first impression you leave. I've helped friends.
I said to my team every time when I work, I manage people, and I say, always have also an elevator pitch for the project you are doing. You never know. We are going to see in the corridor, and you want to have the opportunity to give them some update of what you've been doing. And sometimes you can speak to the C-suite in the corridor or in the lift and say, oh, by the way, you introduce yourself and you say, I work on this team. This is the latest highlight of what we've been finding. And I think it's something to do, not only for job interview, it's all the time. Okay, one very interesting topic, AI, how AI is impacting UX hiring. Let's talk about how it changed. What is the impact on the UX hiring?
I mean, there's always, you mean in the hiring process for candidates, if they know or they don't know AI, or are you think more, or is your question more about like, how does it impact like the job requirements? In which sense do you mean?
I think there's two sides. So let's start quickly about for the audience to understand how you yourself as a recruiter use AI. And then after we look at what the company is expecting in terms of AI usage for the role they are hiring for.
I'm not using so much AI, to be honest, because I have the LinkedIn recruiter account, so there are like AI functionalities there to filter. You can type also a prompt now when you research for a candidate, and then it's not crazy advanced, but it already, puts you the skills, the location, etc. There's a lot of sourcing tool. Big organizations have a lot of sourcing tool to help them find location, language requirements, use requirements. This is why, again, it's important to have an ATS-friendly resume. There's a lot of tools online where you can throw your resume, have it online checks. Is my resume AI ATS friendly? That, it's going to pop up by the first one. So that's one part. This is why it's important to test your resume, have different versions, see the one who performs the best. And then in terms of requirements, there's like this AI noise about we need designer and researcher who know how to use AI. Yes, but there's a whole different language. Are we speaking about AI or are we speaking about automation? And I think here there's a big mashup of what actually people want. Or did you work on an AI feature or product? Like, did people actually work on an agent as a designer or researcher? Or did they use the cloud to just, help themselves have a chart or sum up a document very fast? Those are very different things. And I think sometimes people are talking over each other and we don't really know what we are talking about when we ask that, because it's a hype. And even some HR, or sometimes like the question is, how good are you with AI? This can mean anything and nothing. What do you mean? And I believe people need to use tools, need to play around. You have like AI that helps you improve your workflow. Many design leaders use now tools to prototype faster, Lovable and others, to like have quicker, clickable prototypes. In research, you have tools that help you. You cannot do all the interviews with so many people because budget restrictions. You need to have AI to help you analyze, to help you interview, to run interview. And for PM as well, the discovery, many parts have not, we are always trying to win time by AI tools helping make our life easier. But then there's the technical and the data that comes on top. I've seen people who are very strong technically nowadays and have a very strong data understanding as a designer, as a researcher, as a PM. Those are the people who get the job. I've been asked that, my PMs are very strong in data, that they can run SQL queries themselves, Tableau. I know designer now who can code. We call it design engineer. Back in the days, they used to call it creative technologists, and play with low code, no code. As a researcher, eventually use those tools like Lovable to be able as a researcher to prototype
Absolutely.
and not just be in your niche research department, but broaden your skill set. And those are the people that company like.
Yeah, but I think it's very important to use AI to actually improve the efficiency of your
Yeah,
team. When you manage, it's cost reduction. You can do more project with less time, with less people. That's
yeah,
simple. It's mathematics. So, and a company, when you start saving money by doing more project and to have better processes.
yeah.
So first of all, have your process. Then you understand where you can fit AI to be faster, and then you can, really reduce by 40% actually your effort. And it's really what's happening in research.
Mm-hmm.
Back then, my old time, when we used to do the research, we used to have we used to video record, put it on an external hard drive. Then after we had to transcribe ourselves to the
Yeah,
video, then to do the analysis, blah, blah, blah. It was taking forever. Now, video recording, you got the transcript straight away
yeah,
and the summary and the analysis, which is great. Okay. I think it can really save a lot
yeah,
of time. But that's for the researcher talking about AI.
yeah,
You are still accountable of the outcome of the research.
yeah.
So if AI is making any mistake, doesn't matter which
Mm-hmm.
tool you are using, if you got more sophisticated tool like Condense, where they do the thematic analysis, or you may use GPT or Gemini to do your analysis, it's two different things first. And secondly, the outcome may be wrong.
Yeah, you are parenting. You are the cop, the parent or the judge of the AI outcome. And this is
Absolutely.
so it's there to help you win time. But if it goes totally rogue on the wrong direction, you need to identify it very fast.
Exactly.
Have the critic spirit, the brain, the smart brain to see, okay, that's wrong. Here I can win time with AI, but here I'm losing time because it went
You need
completely
to
the
find the
wrong
right
direction.
balance and
Yeah,
the risk, and try to identify how much risk you are ready to take based on the impact this risk will have. Okay, you do a basic. Okay, I'm going to be very bad, but
yeah,
some people are going to hate me. You do a basic design testing,
yeah,
where you look at the color,
yeah,
okay, and the color and the shape of the button,
yeah,
okay. The risk, if you go wrong with AI,
yeah,
is okay. Okay, it's no huge risk. You may get feedback from users that actually I prepare pink than yellow. Okay,
yeah,
I'm going a bit extreme.
yeah,
But if you make a recommendation for the company to invest money in a new feature, which is going to cost hundreds of thousands of pounds just to build a new feature,
yeah.
my God, you better put your nose into your data to find out what's
Exactly,
wrong.
exactly. Yeah, yeah. And I think that's how it changes for people is to be able to look into this, understand data. We have so many data nowadays, right? There's that data everywhere, data protection, data governance, data
Yeah.
here, data that. How do we use it? How do we understand it? People call themselves data-driven product designer because there's a lot of jobs in the B2B sector. B2B products are very often data heavy,
Yeah.
dashboards, products for farmers with a lot of data visualization. It's not the same as designing a food consumer B2C app, right? And it's not approach. And I think that we have to be part of this, You have to understand data, you have to understand the technology. People who are
Absolutely.
strong in technology, who understand how front end works, who can create as a designer, create a side product for themselves they care about, they want to solve a problem in real
Yeah.
life outside of their job. They do from the research up to the final product. By nowadays tool, you can have an interface, a front end coded by the tool and something working. And you did that alone. I have many friends who are very good at playing with that. And everyone now is like experimenting, building their own agents or own product. And that's this experimentation culture that I think people need to have. Otherwise, you're going to get out of this craft, in a way, the AI craft. But you need also to know your basics in your job, I think. And a good mix of those two, and then probably you succeed in your career, I would say.
Yeah, I think what is interesting is I think people need to keep learning. And what is coming out of what you say is keeping updating yourself with new skill as the technology and the industry evolve.
Yeah.
I had to upskill myself through my entire career all the time, because we use new tools. You've got new needs from the organization, new expectation. That's why I've done this Oxford training recently, to be on top of it. Okay, when people say, oh, you don't governance and regulation, say, yes, research need to know that. We need to know what's going on and the ethics behind it, because at the end of the day, we've got people going to use it. We're going to make recommendations. And then we've got the EU AI Act.
Yeah.
And if we don't comply, the company is going to pay huge fines.
Yeah.
You need to be very careful of that. So that's why I did it. And I think it was very, very interesting to do it. It's a lot because it's a lot of regulation, but it's very interesting. And you don't see a product or AI system the same way than you used to see it before you understood all the implication of building it. So, but what do you see the future of UX in the next couple of years, 2 or 3 years?
I think from all the experts I hear about, the leaders, they think there's still this AI hype. It's gonna calm down a little bit. Everyone agrees on saying that in the design industry and research. But I believe that AI is still gonna be there. We're gonna use it. It's gonna stabilize. We're gonna progress on how this tool works. Organizations are gonna understand where they really need it, because some are just trying to use it as a trend. We need to do something with AI. Maybe you don't need in your current funnel or whatever, but maybe you need it here. So once this is stable, that everyone calm down their FOMO about I'm not doing enough in AI, I believe that AI is going to be there to help UX professionals focus on more strategic work. AI is going to take out repetitive, annoying tasks for designers much as researcher, and then you're going to focus more on the high level, the strategic, the business-driven aspect of UX in your work. And AI is going to... Many people tell me, oh, I don't believe that in the future there's going to be very good, fancy, crafty UI designer, because the prototyping tool are going to get better and better and more automated. And a product designer is going to be more heavy on the UX research and strategy rather than, the person just crafting. Still, you will need to have manual work, and because lots of interface currently look very similar. You see when a website is done by those tools. I see it in portfolio when people build their portfolio with those tools. But I guess it gets more strategic and more business approach roles in the future, rather than very crafty handwork. There's still going to be craft to be done by hand, etc. But yeah, that's what I hear from people when I exchange with them where it's going.
Okay, so we're running out of time again.
And more data and more KPI. I think that's everyone wants KPI at every layer.
Okay, so if you could give a tip to the audience.
Network, go in events, make yourself curious. Don't just stay home with YouTube tutorials. That's cool to play around by yourself. When you look for a job, when you want to know something, go to meetups, make yourself interested by topics. Ask people from company, how is this company? Do they know the manager? You have to use your network, and especially in Berlin, that's something I like also here. I didn't mention, there's a lot of groups. There's so many meetups. People are so happy to help each other, give you a tip, look at your work, answer one of your questions. It's very, very community driven, for example, in Berlin, which is something I love. So I say, your network, experts in their field, if maybe, they can give you a tip about that, and don't just stay home. We say, oh my God, I'm again applying to this, one of the 300 who already applied. Don't let yourself scared by the rough job market, but use people to help you around. And I think that's key to feel support, and also the drive, the motivation to find a cool job, and always be on top of your game in your industry, get feedback, etc.
But thank you very much. I wanted to add something because I've been hiring a lot of people through my career. And I want to say that don't take personally a rejection.
Oh, God.
Because when you recruit someone, when I'm looking for a researcher, for example, I know exactly what I need for my team. I know exactly what I'm looking for. So when we shortlist people, it's because, we want to make sure those people are, meeting the needs. And when we do the interview, we are really looking for those very unique skill sets that we are missing in the team currently. So if you got a rejection, it's not because you are not competent. It's because you don't meet this very little 1% we are looking for. You probably 99%, if you go through the job interview, you're already 99% fitting the role. That the 1% that will be related to what we are looking for. So please don't take things personally. Keep going and believe in yourselves. Don't let those rejection as something that affects your competence.
And take a break when you feel that you had a couple of rejection. I see so many people, I don't like to use the word burnt out, but tired from unsuccessful applications. And some people get defensive. You can feel in their vibe when you interview them that they already went to too many rejection and the vibe is not there anymore. They start to be like actually not really nice necessarily. I'm like, yeah, but this, like, you feel that. And I advise many times in many talks I give to say, if sometimes it's too much, take a week holiday, go to see grandma, go to see your little niece or whatever, take a time for yourself, boost your energy again, your self-confidence, and then go back into your job hunting. But we feel when people are tired and not in a good vibe. And I don't want to hire someone who has a bad vibe because I'm going to work with this person every day if I'm a hiring manager, right? So that's very important. But I think company also sometimes, I see it, they don't give much feedback. I know there's a lack of time. I push all my clients to say when someone at least got to advanced stage, I need a couple of bullet points as a rejection, what did not work out. And I think company, you speak about open feedback culture, not at the profile review stage of a resume, but once you started the process, everyone needs a debrief, in my opinion, if you had at least an interview. And that's also company, you need to get a bit better at doing that. But candidates need to be better at dealing with rejection, put their ego a bit on the side. You need a bit of ego, but if you ask feedback, you need to be ready to hear it as well.
I'll give another last piece of advice. Through my career, I never stop interviewing, even if I had jobs. I never stop. So, not every month, because but at least once or twice a year, but normally recruiter come to me and ask me if I'm available for a job. I don't do very often. I can't remember last time I applied for a job, probably on my last role. Normally recruiters come to me and ask me. And sometimes I say, okay, let's do it. Even if I don't want the job, and I don't plan to move, I practice my interview skills, reshape my CV, I prepare a couple of presentations. I understand what's happening in this sector of activities. So it's something I've been doing it all my career, at least once or twice a year. More recently, maybe once a year. But it's something I do not to get the job, but as a practice exercise. When you are looking for a job, you are fully prepared. So, your career, it's a journey. You need to work on it. You need to nourish it. And I think it's very important that you will be laid off. Everyone is going to be laid off one day in their career. You're going to apply for a job. You're going to decide to leave a company because you don't want to work there anymore. You want to move to another country, so you want to apply for a new job elsewhere. So there's so many times in your career you are going to apply for a job. So, embrace it as something, a skill set. And you need to practice. Speak with recruiter, make friends with recruiter and say, what is the market at the moment? What do you think? No, it's not, I've got so many friends with our recruiters. They come to me and say, do you know someone?
We are the best friends of candidates because I work with small startup, with big startup, with corporation, with agency, with consultancy. I think I have a lot of respect for my talent acquisition clients, right? The hiring people from company who come to me and say, hey, help us find the right talent. But they also have very good tips. If you want to know how it works in a big corporation, ask those people as well if you meet them. But that's always the perspective of how it's working in one company. And it's not the same in every company.
Exactly.
But headhunters, we see, because we work with all type of company. So I think we have a good view on what's happening, what's the reality, the hard reality of what it takes. And my job is very often, as a design research focused recruiter, always chasing portfolio, not updated. I know, Mathieu, I'm going to do it. And then we laugh. And I'm like, 2 weeks after, I'm like, I'm still not done. My grandma was here, or I have this, I had that. So my last piece of advice would be, do your resume and portfolio while it's going well at your job, while you are relaxed, while you have all the data, the screens, everything to make a case study, while also it's fresh in your brain because you just delivered this product. Doesn't need to be online yet, because then the day you have a layoff and you are like surprisingly kicked out of a company and it needs to be fast, you already took out a lot of the document preparation stress. And then you can focus on polishing those documents, making them even more shiny, and keep your energy for the interview part. Because if you wait to be laid off to do your portfolio, then you have to design your portfolio. You have to go and interview. It's like too much, and people, it overwhelms them, it stresses them out, etc. So do it while it's chilled, while you are in the comfort zone, to save energy and bad stress later on. But I know it's hard. When it's going well for you, you don't prep the future bad times, right?
Okay, but thank you so much. We went largely over time, but I think it was very helpful for all the audience today. I think a lot of people are asking questions. So we've got this episode to support all the people in the community on how to prepare themselves to apply for new job. And we wish everyone all the best of luck with all their application.
Yeah.
And I hope those tips will be very useful to them. And I think if you are in the Germany area, reach out to Mathieu. I think it's, and even if you are outside, I'm sure he will be very pleased to give you some advice. And for all the audience, I'll see you next month. And thank you again for listening. Have a great end of the day. Goodbye.
Thanks, Emmanuel.